What's up? Hey, it's been a minute, so I figured I'd come back with something simple. I seen Gameranx, and they had this video talking about things that died in video games the past year. So I was like, let's check it out and see what they're talking about. They said it quietly died. Let me double check the title here. 10 video game things that died in 2024. So I'm gonna check it out, see if I agree with them, see if I knew what it was, and let's see how I'm gonna test it myself, see how connected I am or informed I am, or lack thereof. Let's see.
Everybody's trying to make good games and sell them, but that's obviously not the only stuff that goes on in the video game industry. We see big budget flops, disasters, and fiascos all the time, and 2024 was full of them. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Gameranx, 10 video game things that died in 2024. Starting off with number 10, Game Informer shut down. One of the last remaining gaming magazines finally called it quits.
I had no idea. Fun fact, I used to work for GameStop for over 10 years, and they used to have us peddling these damn things every time you come and buy something. Do you have a game? Do you have an account with us? Do you have a reward? You're a rewards member? You save yourself up to 5 to 20% on this and get used games. No. I had to sell the motherfuckers like every customer, and if you didn't sell them, whatever, you get reprimanded or something. And it was just silly. But I'd be lying if it wasn't. It's not a nostalgia feel to have to be able to pick up a magazine and look at it and be like, oh, okay, that's what's coming out, and you'll be able to see. On that, I do wonder what GameStop's going to transform into, though. I think it's going to be turned into more of a apparel store, if anything, because you can pretty much buy everything online, and a lot of retail brick and mortar stores are closing their doors because, let's be frank, Amazon and other companies, whatever, where you can literally cut the middleman out and get what you're looking for cheaper by buying straight from the manufacturer or the warehouse. So I'm just wondering, are they going to get more into the niche things, like the figurines and stuff like that? But even then, it's still kind of cheaper online. But who knows? Let's see what they're going to do.
Immediately making issue 367 their final physical magazine. If you're a younger viewer, it's probably hard to imagine, but video game magazines used to be such an important part of the lives of any gamer. We all had subscriptions to stuff like Nintendo Power and EGM and Game Informer.
Oh, I still remember way back when I was younger. Oh man, it's like the 90s. I'm dating myself. I used to go down to the corner store and see if they had a magazine because they used to have demo disc in them. We used to take take them and run home and see what was in them, see the games there, because we didn't have any actual money for games, so we sit there and play the shit out of those demo discs for hours on end. But yeah, good memories.
And for most of us, it was our primary means of getting gaming news and reviews, and stuff like PC Gamer gave us demo discs, and a lot of us played games we wouldn't be able to buy for quite a while that way, and at least understood how good they are and why it was worthwhile to save up the cash to buy them. Of course, with the internet happening, the idea of a gaming magazine, it saw an inevitable decline. It was slow, but inevitable. But Game Informer held out, mostly because they were owned by GameStop, who would sell subscriptions in their stores. I know that's why I was getting Game Informer years past the point where it made any sense to be getting a physical gaming magazine. Even if you weren't subscribed, it was just nice to know the magazine was still going. It was like a rock in the storm, in an industry in turmoil. Game Informer was one thing you could count on, so with it finally gone, it feels like the end of an era. Listen, gaming magazines weren't always the best. A lot of them were just product catalogs pretending to be impartial news sources. Nintendo Power, I'm looking at you. Game Informer was mostly a marketing arm for GameStop, particularly in those final years. And who on earth is buying their news when they can go online and get it for free? And free happens to be much faster. There's a reason all these magazines disappeared, but I can't help but be a little nostalgic. And number 9 is platform exclusives. I know I'm putting my credibility in danger with this one, but I'm just going to say it. 2024 is the year where platform exclusivity died. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be totally gone. That would be totally insane for me to say. As long as Nintendo exists, there will be exclusive games, but not even on that basis. There's going to be other exclusives. But I think everybody just got...
I kind of get what he's saying. But at the same time, he understands what he's saying as well. There's a line here, third party. If you're not first party IP, i.e. Nintendo, you're going to pretty much be everywhere.
got fed up with it this year. I think it's done. I think they don't make as much money doing it. I mean, Astrobot getting Game of the Year just basically pissed everybody off that doesn't own a PlayStation 5. I understand it being a console exclusive, given how Sony related it is, but I mean, it would have made more money if it was out on every platform. Like, I would buy it on PC, not even a question. I hope they release it on PC so I can buy it on PC. I love it on PlayStation 5, but I just prefer playing games on the computer at this point. But one of the more noteworthy examples of it is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The relative success or failure of this game has been a pretty huge talking point. I mean, what does it say when a game that big, that looks that good, is reviewed that well, and is bought, frankly, a pretty fair amount? Enough for Sony to give Final Fantasy VII Rebirth an award for being one of the 3 best-selling games on the PS5 in 2024. That's nothing to shake a stick at, but it did not meet the numbers that Square Enix projected and wanted. Now, there could be a lot of reasons why the game didn't do as well as the previous Final Fantasy VII Remake title, but the thing that the developers have decided is the scapegoat, per se, is exclusivity. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was a PlayStation exclusive, and that's why it didn't sell as much. And that's a common refrain in the industry.
Now, I'm listening to him, and I'm thinking to myself, like, back in the day, it made sense to have exclusives like that. But nowadays, it's like, I mean, just off the economy alone, man, it's like it makes more sense to have your game on as many consoles as possible so you can make up that bottom line back. So I don't understand why I think, especially something, I mean, this game particularly, I can understand, because this is a big title. But if you like anything that's not this level and under, there's no reason and no excuse for you to be console exclusive, to be honest with you.
AAA is just too big and too expensive to confine to a single console. If these companies want to recoup the cost of game development and make a profit, they need their games on as many platforms as possible. There needs to be no friction in buying their games. The old ideas about exclusives drawing audiences doesn't seem to be working anymore. Like, I get a first-party exclusive much more than a third-party exclusive at this point, but there's just not enough room for that audience to grow. At least that's what a lot of industry types believe. I think the canary in the coal mine is the Xbox in 2024. They shifted their strategy completely away from being a dedicated platform. Remember that ad about how Xbox isn't just a console? It's kind of been a weird and worrying year for Xbox, because in some ways, that ad seems kind of correct. I think too early to put a nail in the Xbox coffin. In fact, it could end up being that this is all a bunch of worrywart stuff that was unnecessary. I don't know. But whatever the...
I seen that, and I honestly think that they're not going to not make consoles anymore. I just think, like, they're going to be making their IP... I think they're just going to be making their Rose Gallery available for everybody because it just makes sense for them. Like, if you want to have the actual system, they'll have perks to that some form or fashion, where the game might run a little bit better or some other exclusive content on there or something like that to have it on the actual system. But outside of that, I don't think it's a terrible move for what they're doing. I mean, on the business side of it, because console wise, it just wasn't. I mean, they're not saying it's a bad system, not throwing shade on the Xbox, just not doing the numbers like Nintendo and PlayStation is. Just not.
Microsoft closes the Xbox Live Marketplace. This was a little bit less of an unexpected thing. The Xbox 360 did define the 7th generation of consoles, and one of the key reasons was the Xbox Live Marketplace. It wasn't the first online console storefront, but for a lot of people, it was their first introduction to buying digital games. And yes, having Xbox bucks and having to buy them, that was all pain in the ass. The UI wasn't the best, but there were a lot of good games on the marketplace, and a lot of them were exclusive, in the era where that mattered a lot more. Looking at the list of games, most of the significant...
It sucks now because it's like there are a lot of games that I wish I could have access to from that era that in order to play them now, I have to put on my Luffy hat. And I would like to support the people who made the game and so forth, but y'all don't give the people no other option. I don't know.
Ones can still be played on the Xbox One and beyond, but there are still some noteworthy titles lost to time, and that's going to always suck. The marketplace was officially closed on July 29th, marking the end of an era for Xbox as a whole, and it's sad to see it go. The one positive I can say is, at least it makes it so old Xbox 360s start up faster. That's nice, but it's always a drag when online stores shut down. At least this one lasted longer than the PlayStation 3 support, and they gave a decent amount of warning before pulling the plug, but also it wasn't wasn't the only online storefront to end. Like, online for both the Nintendo 3DS and the Wii U ended last year. And both of those are much more devastating closures from a game preservation perspective. But the Xbox Marketplace shutdown's pretty significant. It's an end of an era. Ignoring the whole red ring of death thing, the 7th generation was a hell of a time for Xbox fans. So let's stick to remembering the...
I will say, that's like probably my favorite generation. I was younger, and the only thing I had of responsibility was to work, care for myself, and play video games. I remember the only thing I did was work at an arcade, get off of work, get some Chinese food, get home, and just veg off that Chinese food for hours with little to no sleep for the next day, just playing Gears online with my friends. And then if there were days where they went online, I would be on the PlayStation playing MotorStorm just for hours on end, because back then it was free to play online. And I was like, why the hell would I get an Xbox and pay for this? Which I ended up doing anyway. When I can play this one online for free. But yeah, that was a good generation.
The good times rather than mourning what we lost, because seriously, those last few years the marketplace was barely usable anyways. At number 7, Blizzard's big survival game, 6 years in the making, was canceled. 2024 was volatile. It was an uncertain year for the games industry. You'd think a studio as old and venerable as Blizzard would be able to weather almost anything. And yeah, I mean, they're not closing. But it's another example of how risky the entire landscape is looking right now. The dead game in question is Odyssey, a survival game that was meant to be Blizzard's answer to Minecraft. On paper, great idea. I mean, any kind of proper competitor to Minecraft from a major studio is interesting, if nothing else. It's a market the AAA games industry hasn't even attempted to crack, well, other than this game, and it was canned before anybody got to really see it. This one's probably more of a casualty of the Microsoft and Activision merger than anything else. Another byproduct of the mass layoffs that hit Blizzard in January of 2024. The total layoffs across the Microsoft gaming division was catastrophic. I'm talking 1,900 people here. That's a lot of jobs, and Blizzard was not spared. They didn't just lose low-level guys during the reorganization either. Major figures in Blizzard, like President Mike Ybarra and their chief design officer, got the boot too. Blizzard's got a long history of games they were working on that eventually got canceled. StarCraft, Ghost, for instance. But Odyssey seemed like it was actually going to happen. Sure, it was suffering through internal issues related to the engine, but at least according to...
To be honest with you, I don't ever play Minecraft, so this one interested me in the first place. So, but hey, I'm just one person.
This Bloomberg article, it seemed like they were hopeful about the Microsoft acquisition and seemed to think it would get development back on track. Instead, the whole thing went off the rails. Like, who knows how Odyssey would have eventually shaken out. It could have been crap, or it could have revolutionized the entire survival game market. I don't know. At number 6, NFT games are dead. Like, really, really dead. People were saying these things were done in 2023.
I never understood this genre. I guess I never cared. People, and as soon as somebody mentions NFT or crypto to me, my eyes glaze over and I quickly lose attention and walk away. I don't know. I don't know. I just never understood this stuff.
At number 5, Tetris is finally finished. Some madman finally beat Tetris. These old school arcade games can't be beaten in any conventional metric. When you get to the end, they just restart and you play again. But eventually you can get a kill screen, which is the point where the game no longer functions. For Tetris, it was believed for years that actually reaching this kill screen was not humanly possible because the reaction time and the speed of the falling blocks was just too much. But in recent years, there's been massive innovation in the Tetris community and some insane strategies that allow people to keep playing the game even when blocks are falling so fast it's nearly impossible to keep up. The most impressive of these techniques is rolling, where players would rhythmically roll their fingers under the bottom of the NES controller. Seriously, it has to be seen to be believed. It sounds ridiculous, but it does actually work. Usually with speedrunning, you see people come up with in-game solutions to technical problems, but with Tetris players, they're coming...
This just goes to show you there's high-level play in every genre, in every game. This is crazy. I remember somebody said something about that before, but I'm simply looking at the video now. The rolling of the fingers underneath the controller in order to get the thing to switch. That's crazy. That's crazy work. That's
Number
crazy.
4, Spec Ops: The Line was delisted. Another year, another high-profile game delisting. This is hardly the only game that got pulled from the online storefronts this year. There's an entire online...
Never played this game neither.
website dedicated to tracking games getting delisted, but it's one of the most notable, to say the least. It probably got delisted because of music licenses, which is the silent killer of the 7th generation of games. I barely even remember any of the licensed music on this thing, but all it takes is one, and you better believe 2K isn't going to fork over any cash to keep the music. They won't even do that for Grand Theft Auto games, so there's no way in hell they're doing it with Spec Ops: The Line, which sucks because it's a really interesting game. I'm not sure I would call it great, but it's a game that over the years I've grown to respect just for doing something very different.
I remember I didn't care for this game because it just seemed like a Gears of War knockoff, and I was like, I never gave it a second thought.
It's a thing that starts off like your standard third-person hoorah military shooter, and by the end, it's gone full-blown psychological horror. That's interesting, and no other game has quite managed to do what this game has done on scale. It's messy, no doubt, but the audacity on display is commendable, and it never falls apart, per se. It's one of those games that should be played, or at least be out there for people to play, so it really sucks it got delisted. Hopefully it'll get a second chance at life at some point, because it's a game that needs to be played, even if only for you to form an opinion on what the hell is happening here. At number 3, it's Suicide Squad, which lived and died back in 2024, which, holy hell, it's weird to say that.
Never played this game, never was going to play this game. Oh, I know some people who have played this game, and I laugh at them every time I see them playing this game. Oh my goodness, I don't understand people, man. I don't understand people. Why would you play this? I don't understand people, man. I say you have a hard time selling me on the live service things, because as a gamer, an older gamer, I remember where everything came out on the actual game, and you didn't have to pay extra for things that, in my opinion, should have been in the core game. And on this one here, this is more of a notion that came from PC gaming over to consoles, and I was always a console gamer. And then the fact that I had to keep paying for the service for a game just threw me off. Like, now that I'm older, I understand the notion on it, because they're actively adding more stuff to the game while you're playing the game. But in these games here, they're more like they come out with a new weapon that has the same animations as the old weapons and everything like that, but has a stat boost of 2 points, or has the element boost of fire, or something like that, or something so minuscule it's not even funny. And then people who've been playing the game are so invested they just drool over the idea of being able to do 2 points more damage plus a multiplier of the third hit or something. It's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm too into it. I don't know. Maybe I'm too far gone myself, because we all have that genre. We all have that game where we would spend extra money on. The game, let's see, the games that I personally have spent the most money on has been Dragon Ball FighterZ by far, because I've bought that game like 4 or 5 times now on multiple different consoles, and for 2 of my friends, my son and my friend. And then honestly, Street Fighter, just the franchise in general, all the stuff I bought for Street Fighter 5, and all the stuff I'm bought and will buy for Street Fighter 6, because they are treating that like a live service game too. But then it's like, where's the line at? It's like the cosmetic stuff. It's like, okay, I justify that because it's cosmetic stuff. That can be stuff that wasn't in the game. But when they found out that stuff that was, which game was that? When they tried to charge us for characters that were already in the base game, but they wanted to charge us, I think it was Infinite and Tekken Cross Street Fighter or something like that. But that's shicey shit. Allow us just to earn those characters in game by doing the points or something like that, like it used to. But this type of stuff here, I didn't care for, because it was like you're essentially playing the same level over and over and over again to get slightly better upgrades on gear and stuff that made no real difference. It's like, and the cosmetic changes is what? A bright green color like you see on the screen, or glowy yellow or something like that, or an anime girl on the side of it or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting to the point where I'm getting to that old man status to get off my lawn type shit, but I just don't see the appeal. I just don't see it.
Bit of that old Rocksteady magic buried in there. But the stuff they added into the game wasn't that exciting. And, you know, I'll go ahead and say this. If it wasn't a live service game, this game would have had so much more of a chance. Because they'd be developing it without the live service junk in mind. And the stuff that was good would be allowed to be...
You know what? I agree with him. I agree with him. Even though I don't care for this game at all. And I probably wouldn't have bought it either way. But... the fact that if they had the live service thing in mind is probably a bit.
Number 2, Netflix shuts down a AAA studio before it even announced a game. For years, everybody was getting into video games, thinking it would make a quick buck. Amazon's been floundering, trying to get a foothold in the industry for years, and Netflix's efforts haven't been a lot better. In 2022, Netflix started building the Southern California game studio. Didn't have an official name, and they were bringing in big guns like Overwatch producer Chaco Sonny and Joseph Staten, you know, the creative director at Bungie and 343. They also brought in the art director from Sony Santa Monica. I mean, there were big names in the industry, and that signaled Netflix was getting ready to step into the AAA games market. Team Blue, as they were called internally, they were doing big things. Netflix announced they were going to work on a brand new AAA multi-platform game and original IP, and then nothing. Fast forward 2 years, and all 3 of the guys I mentioned are no longer with the company, and the studio's been dissolved. We know absolutely nothing about the game that was going to be. No name, no concept art, no nothing. This isn't even the only big studio fronted by an industry veteran to close this year with nothing announced. Mass Effect director David Gator, his new studio Humanoid Origin also shut down in 2024 without releasing a game. I mean, they at least had some kind of concept art. That's something, I guess, though. And at number 1, Concord, which lived and died in 2024. In fact, like a few weeks in 2024. 8 years in development, 2 weeks playable. That's Concord in a nutshell. A $250 million disaster.
Man, if I wasn't going through the crap I was going through, I would have made a couple videos on this game. And man, a lot of my takes you would have probably been surprised about. Like, I never played the game. Never had no interest in playing the game. But just off the Discord and what was happening because of this game had me interested. Wow, that's all I gotta say.
That is by far the highest profile death of 2024. It's a weird thing because the game wasn't terrible. Like, you read anything about it and you assume it's a massive day before style disaster, but it's not. It's just a mediocre, maybe kind of subpar hero shooter that nobody wanted to play.
That's the thing, man. That's the thing. It got drug out as far as... I never played the game, but I've seen enough footage on it. It got drug out as being the worst game ever, right? Outside of the Gooner shit. To me, as I call myself a normie gamer, I had no appeal on it. It had no appeal to me because it was a Overwatch clone. A straight up Overwatch clone that did nothing interesting. Nothing interesting at all. The gameplay looked like it was okay, but outside of that, everything else was a net negative compared to what they were piggybacking off of. Why would I pay to play something that's less than what's already out that I already have? I play a little bit of Overwatch. I was playing that. Why would I go from Overwatch to this? Like, it just in the simplest of terms. Why would I go to Overwatch to this? And then, don't get me on the character designs and all that stuff like that. Why would I go from great looking characters in Overwatch to the characters the way they looked in this? Why? Not even on that old woke shit and stuff like that, because I can't stand anybody who's on the internet talking about when games go woke shit and forth. Shut your ass up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. The characters were just not appealing. For multiple different reasons. Multiple different reasons. I mean, I will say this, because I didn't realize the video was going to go this long. A lot of stuff I didn't, some of this, half the things I had no idea about, and the stuff I did know about, I wish I probably would have made a video about it, but whatever. It's neither here or there. I don't disagree with what they're talking about. I don't disagree with 98% of what they said. It seems pretty much on point. So, I don't know if there's anything that they missed or anything that I missed at all. Let me know, because I feel like lessons should be learned, but they're not going to be. And the way I feel like the community in gaming as a whole is steering towards is I'm not going to like it. Especially what I call normal game versus gooners. I'll make a video about that later. I'll talk about that later. But, yeah. I'll see y'all later, though. Sticks up, thumbs down.
Yeah. That's all. What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? What's that? What's that?